to the Binge List. I am your host, Paul Chapo, and I am recapping The Boys Season 2. Episode 4 came out this morning. I got a chance to look at it. It was an interesting episode. There was hardly any heads exploding. In fact, there was no heads exploding. There was nothing gross in this episode. I think this is the first for this show. And they managed to drive the plot forward in some significant ways. The most significant thing happened with Billy Butcher finding the location of his wife, going to visit her, and the complication started there. You think everything is solved, right? Well, you would be wrong. There are still some problems for him to overcome. The chief being that he does not want to accept Homelander's son. And if his wife runs away with him, she has insisted that she's bringing her son along with her. So Billy Butcher does not know what to do because he is not going to raise this kid as his own. And he says rightly that Voight is likely going to consider this kid property. You know, and one day there's going to be two Homelanders running around the earth causing a mayhem. And Billy Butcher doesn't want any part of that. So this is a very significant thing that happened this episode. And it's going to be very, very crazy to see how Billy Butcher deals with it. Because we know that he will do anything he needs to do to get results. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that plot point goes. So we will see. A couple other things happen. Well, actually, there's like 7 or so things that happen, but let me just point out the biggest things. The second biggest thing in the episode was Huey, Annie, and Mother's Milk going on a road trip, tracking down a lead to a superhero called Liberty. And that was the first time in the episode that we got a significant Easter egg. As you can see here, of course, abortion would be a big issue in North Carolina. But the fact that they're using superheroes to promote their propaganda, I think so. It's just very, very, how to say this? Republicans would definitely do something like this. Anti-abortion activists, pro-life people would almost absolutely use supers in their propaganda. So I thought that was hilarious. The second big Easter egg, I thought, as a native Southerner, this just hits me in a different way. While Mother's Milk and Annie are sitting in this cafe, you see a picture of Robert E. Lee on the wall and some American flags, which is this contradiction that we live with here in the South. The fact that you got so many people claiming to be patriots, but they have Robert E. Lee or some kind of Confederate memorabilia on the wall of their homes or business or whatever. It just seems a big contradiction to me because the South fought so hard against the American government and tried to topple it. So, yeah. One thing I just love about this show is just all the little details they throw in. Like this newspaper, for instance. If you look at the top of it, you can notice that it says how Big Pharma created America's opioid pandemic. And that just goes to show that this is solidly in our timeline. All these things that are happening. And it's kind of scary to think, yes, this could be real. That there are superheroes running around, and yet we are still having the same controversies that we've had in the last few years. So there's nothing about the COVID in this, because I'm assuming they shot this season before COVID. But yeah, just these little details. I just love that they think of these ways of throwing these little hints that, hey, this is your timeline. This is what could happen. This really could be part of our history. So, yeah, it was kind of scary. Okay, the next thing I would say significant in this episode is Homelander's feelings. And I mean that in a multitude of ways because one of the first things we see is that he goes to a cabin to see Meredith. Yeah, she's still alive, or is she? I'm going to leave that for you to watch and find out. I don't want to spoil too much about this episode, but I thought that was significant. And the fact that, once again, we are shown how much Homelander loves his milk. Now, I'm starting to think that milk might actually be his kryptonite. Because he is this universe's Superman. And every great superhero must have a weakness. Especially a superhero with this much power must have some kind of weakness. So I'm thinking milk is going to turn out to be more significant than they're letting on. I mean, we already know he loves milk, but I think it will go deeper at some point and will have some significant effect on what happens to Homelander. When the boys finally figure out how they're going to deal with him, that's going to have some kind of impact on it. So I would be expecting to see some more about that. But we see Homelander dealing with his jealousy of Stormfront. Stormfront has these memes being spread all over the internet. And, of course, this is a very popular meme with the guy looking at the girl and his girlfriend going, "What? Oh, could you?" So I thought that was very clever that they used that meme because it's just such a contemporary reference. Once again, showing you that they are so much in the details, the writers of this show, and I just commend them for that. And the second Homelander Easter egg is this poster that reinforces what we saw in the first episode about Voight really going for the female market, feminist market, whatever you want to call it, with this girls get it done slogan they came up with. And it just shows you once again how commercialized superheroes are in this alternative timeline. It's just really, really cool. I love this. This is I mean, it really draws you into this universe and shows you what could actually be. And it's a little scary, but it's fascinating at the same time. The other Easter egg of note in this episode is they keep referencing candy bars. I think Huey's the one that says that Jeffrey Dahmer liked Almond Joy. And he also liked Almond Joy. And in fact, if you look at the synopsis for this season, for this episode, it's called Nothing Like It in the World. It actually says, road trip, the boys head to North Carolina to follow a lead on a mysterious soup named Liberty. And did you know a person's choice of candy bars might tell you if they're a serial killer? Watch and learn the warning signs. This episode could save your life. And I thought it was kind of ironic because Annie actually says in this episode that she's not a murderer when Homeland approaches her on the elevator and threatens to kill her. So what is this telling us? Is she actually a murderer because she likes Almond Joy? I guess we'll find out. But as you can see here, Almond Joy actually appeared one other time in the episode with this technician that helps out Black Noir or War. I'm never sure how you say that word. So many people pronounce it in different ways. But yeah, so Black Noir even has a plot point in this episode. He's tracking Billy Butcher. We don't know what he plans to do, but they do find Billy Butcher when he's going out of the compound holding his wife. But yeah, this was a pretty good episode. I'm glad that they're finally, hopefully, getting away from the gore. We don't need all this gore. It wouldn't bother me if it happened every few episodes or so, but you know, they've had something gross every episode this season except for this one. So I'm just hoping this is a sign of things to come. But a couple other things that happened in this episode that bears mentioning: Homelander outs Maeve. Tells the whole world, in fact, that she is gay right after a question of about the Seven's diversity. And I also found this ironic because a few scenes before this, Homelander actually kicks A-Train off the team. And it looks like Shockwave will take his place. So that's a significant little point here. Another point, we also get a suggestion, once again, that Stormfront is a raving racist when she tells Homelander that he's the ideal man.
I think that you are the best of us. I think that you are everything we should be.
She clearly looks up to him because of his Aryan looks. And we also found out that Liberty, the superhero that they go on a road trip to investigate, actually killed an innocent black man back in the 70s, I believe it was. And they surmise from this, Liberty's actually the same person as Stormfront. And because of this, they surmise that she's got to be 70 years old. And from my research into the boys, I was able to learn that Stormfront is actually a character from the graphic novel, but in the graphic novel, it's a man. And he's like the first superhero created by the Void scientist that we had a mention of, I think, back in the first episode of this season. So Stormfront was like the very first superhero created with this compound V. So as a result, she doesn't age like a normal human being. That's part of her powers. That's one of the significant things we found out this episode. And to me, Stormfront kind of looks like Leni Riefenstahl. If you know anything about Nazi history, Leni Riefenstahl was Hitler's personal filmmaker. She made all his many of his propaganda films. She did the Olympics and she did Triumph of the Will. So if you don't know who Leni Riefenstahl is, I would encourage you to look her up because she was probably the first big female director, and she innovated all these things that are still used, like dollies and whatnot. Techniques that are still used in the film industry. She was very influential. So yeah, look her up. She was a Nazi, I have to warn you, but yes. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention, the Deep is looking for a wife. He's part of this Scientology-like group, and it's been revealed that he's trying to redeem his image, and one of those ways he's trying to redeem his image is by getting a wife. So we see snippets of interviews that he's been doing with prospective women. So probably the least important plot point, I think, in the episode. Full of great plot points. But yes, I'm very encouraged by what I'm seeing, and I'm hoping that the future episode will follow this template and not have to resort to gross out moments to move the plot forward. But that's all I got for today. I'd like to thank my subscribers and encourage you, hit that subscribe button. If you're already a subscriber, smash that bell so you know when my next video drops. Give me a like, comment, and I will see you when I see you. Thanks for watching.